What's up, everyone? Pikmin has always been one of my favorite Nintendo series, and it really sucked that the last game was from 2017. But we all know, Hey Pikmin does not exist. Anyway, since Pikmin 4 is still yet to be announced, all we can do right now is speculate. I thought of a couple of interesting ideas that will probably not be used, but are cool nonetheless. First off, the story. Pikmin 3 originally ended with Olimar, Louie, and the Copiates leaving PNF 404. And in the credits scene, it shows a mysterious object crashing down from the sky. In one of the reports, it showed that they left Louie behind. Again. However, in the deluxe port, Olimar's side missions, it shows that Olimar and Louie came back to collect treasure instead. Using this ending, we are given a blank slate to think of anything that could happen. What I think would be a cool story is when Hocotate's power would completely shut off. Perhaps Louie could be behind this once again. This will lead Olimar, Louie, the president, and a new captain to go to PNF 404 once again to collect treasure that will completely contain electricity, which I'll talk about later. But you may be wondering why the Copiates are not returning. And to that I'd say, their goal was completed. They don't need any more fruit. But maybe they can come back and, Hey Pikmin 2. During the game, I think Louie should eventually ditch you and run off. This would mean you need to collect things as well as chase after Louie. Maybe this game would reveal his true intentions, or perhaps a connection to the Plasm Wraith. So you know how I mentioned electricity being a collectible earlier? What I mean by this is that you'd collect electronics, batteries, and things like that. So essentially the same as the Pokos from Pikmin 2, except there's something else the electricity would do. It could power your ship every night, and if you don't have enough, it will result in a game over. What I believe the main purpose of electricity would be is to survive the nights. Because remember Pikmin Park from Hey Pikmin? Well, I think it would be similar to that, but where you use some of the electricity you found that day to fend off the monsters at night. The more watts of electricity you found, the more defensive mechanisms you can make. Maybe you could even go back to levels at night, but it's slightly harder because the monsters are more hostile. But going back to the electricity idea, maybe it could be even used for things like upgrades to the captains or the ship. But now the main part about the Pikmin games, the Pikmin. Since Nintendo has already used up most of our color choices, we have a few left. These are orange, brown, cyan, and green. There's probably more, but I don't feel like looking at a color wheel for 5 hours. Anyway, maybe the orange Pikmin could be like a stretchy or rubbery type Pikmin. This could mean in puzzles they could be stretched far to grab an object, or bounce off something because of their rubbery material. The captains could maybe even fling them, such as how we would shoot rubber bands. And that instead of the high lob throw every Pikmin has when the captains throw them, this would be like a straight shot towards things. The next Pikmin would be the brown Pikmin. On second thought, I think it should just be called the burrowing Pikmin. This is because they always stay on the ground. This could mean that they can go under walls, or maybe even fight enemies that go underground, such as the burrowing Snagrit. Or maybe even dig up buried collectibles. This Pikmin type has so much potential, and I really hope it gets used. Okay, so I know I mentioned these earlier, but I don't really have many ideas for them. These being the green and cyan Pikmin. But really, they only add 2 new Pikmin types anyway, so it's fine. But I do want the Alaman, the Pikmar, or whatever that thing is called. It just needs to have a glorious HD return. For the rest of the Pikmin, I think they should just stay in mission mode. I love them, but it'd be too overwhelming to have like 10 different Pikmin types on the map. However, I think they should bring back the Puffmin. I know it wasn't really a big feature of the first game, but come on, it was cool having some evil kind of Pikmin. Another that should return to the story mode is the Bulbmin. Since it only stays in caves, it would not be bad having them if they just appear there. But this would mean caves need to return though. I thought the addition of caves in Pikmin 2 was quite flawed, as they all felt the same, and they were all too long. In Pikmin 4, though, they should be a very minor thing, only being around 5 floors max and standing out from one another. This would mean they could focus on the main areas of the game more. Something I want to go over now is the areas where the captains explore. I think for this game, they should use different area ideas not ever really shown in a Pikmin game. For example, they could have like a volcano level, in which you need red Pikmin to traverse through the lava. Obviously not for one of the starting areas, but maybe for the final level. Perhaps the Plasm Wraith waits there. Or maybe an entirely underground dark level, kinda like the Forest Navel. And that the deeper you go, the darker and deadlier it gets. And you would need to use yellow Pikmin to light it up, but red Pikmin to take down the stronger foes that lie beneath. Or maybe in an abandoned house, and you go through, say, like a bedroom, and you need to traverse using the orange Pikmin to stretch itself to maybe like open a drawer for you to get to higher ground. Maybe the burrowing Pikmin can go inside the walls to open up shortcuts to the player. I think Pikmin 4 should use the idea of PNF 4 being a post-apocalyptic Earth to its fullest, as there are so many ideas that can spawn from doing so. I think Pikmin 4 should be more like a combination of 2 and 3. This is because Pikmin 2 was a more lengthy adventure, where you need to collect treasures similar to how this game works, but also like Pikmin 3 in its deeper story, I guess, and cooler concepts. Finally, at the end of the game, this is where Olimar, the president, and that other captain meet up with the Plasm Wraith, who is controlling Louie. And if you need an introduction to the Plasm Wraith, it is basically this being that is speculated to be following Olimar throughout every Pikmin game, slowly evolving in the process. I believe that this should be its final confrontation, and that the Hokatations can finally kill it off and save Louie. After saving Louie, the crew gets on a ship and travels back to Hokatate, with the newfound electricity saving the planet. Overall, we don't know much about when Pikmin 4 is coming out. Maybe the next Direct, maybe at E3, but one thing we know for sure is it's very close to completion. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. This is my first video like this. I want to continue making some more Pikmin videos in the future, as it would be cool to go in depth with some of these ideas more, or maybe just covering Pikmin content in general. So yeah, if you want to go to my channel and check out some of my other videos, just know one thing. Don't. So yeah, bye.